How strong was Wilt Chamberlain actually? Now that's a question I'm going to try to answer in this video, but before I do, make sure you like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. That being said, let's just dive right in. Now, first of all, I want to start off with something very interesting. This is very important because I've seen people use this to discredit Wilt Chamberlain's claims, and I'll show you the claims in a second as well. But one of the biggest problems that people had is that they believe Wilt Chamberlain exaggerated about a lot of his things. Like, for example, his vertical. Now, I was reacting to a video. I was just checking out what they thought, and it's called How Strong Was Wilt Chamberlain Really by Strength Universe. One of the reasons he didn't believe Wilt was as strong as he claimed to be was because Wilt claimed he had a 48-inch to 50-inch vertical. Now, he linked this article in the description and said, hey, if you read this article, this guy makes it pretty clear Wilt did not have a 50-inch vertical. And if you read it, you'll see that if Wilt had a 48-inch vertical, it would be 11 feet 1 inches off the ground, or at least his head would be, which would put his neck above the rim. And that at the end of the article, this guy says, I think it's safe to say that Wilt Chamberlain could not jump 48 inches off the ground. And then he says, I can confidently say that Wilt Chamberlain had between a 38 to 41 inch vertical jump. Now, he links this article in hopes to discredit Wilt Chamberlain's claim, because if Wilt was lying, then it's likely he was lying about other things. But, and by the way, at the time, you could have done any research and found out that article was wrong. But luckily for us, we have some new footage come out in the last year.
To do that.
That shows Wilt Chamberlain's vertical leap, and I'm going to show you guys in slow motion so that you guys can see at the top of his jump. And I think it's pretty clear Wilt was not lying about this. Check this out. Yeah, I think he had a 48 to 50 inch vertical. I mean, that his head and shoulders are both above the rim. I think it's pretty clear. Now, why did I say that? Well, it gives credibility to Wilt. If he was not lying about his vertical, and if you watch my previous video about his athleticism, which was regarding his speed, he was not lying about his speed, then it's likely he wasn't lying about his strength. Now, what did he claim? Well, let me show you what he claimed.
At my
600 pounds?
Yeah. Guys of my time, not so good. I mean, I'm a guy bench pressing around 600 pounds when I was at my best.
600 pounds?
Yeah, right. So,
I'm at 5'10". That's pretty good. I'll
yeah,
just work on it a little while.
Now, he claimed a 600-pound bench press, which is absolutely insane. I'm going to be honest with you. I'll get back to this one. I'm going to save this one for last, but that's just what he claimed in that interview. Another thing, and this is I'm going to address this one first just because for several reasons, but I'll show you in a second. But in this video by Strength Universe, where he was discrediting Wilt and saying Wilt was lying, one of the articles that he showed was this one, where it says, one world-ranked powerlifter said he was in the gym with Wilt in the early 1970s. Wilt easily did a 700-pound deadlift, then turned to the powerlifter and said, I'll bet you $1,000 I can deadlift 1,000 pounds. That would have set a new world record at the time. After witnessing the ease in which Wilt did 700, the guy said, no thanks. Now, why am I showing you that? Well, this is the early 1970s. He would have been about 35 years old and about 327. That's how much he weighed at the time. And it's a fact that he deadlifted 700 pounds, which would put him in the 86th percentile of male lifters, right? Which is pretty darn impressive. But it says that he did it easily. Now, Wilt claimed he could do 1,000, which would have put him in the 99.9 percentile of male lifters and set a world record. But even if he was lying or exaggerating a little bit, and I'll get back to that, and there's a reason I'm saying that, by the way. And let's just say instead of 1,000, he could truly only deadlift with 850 pounds, which sounds very likely and very reasonable in my opinion. It's because it says he did 700 pounds lightly or very easily. He would still be in the 98 to 99 percentile range, which establishes a number. And I want you to remember the percentile range because I'm going to get back to it. Now, regarding his bench press, which is really the most disputed one, and I'll show you comments about people, right? Look, as you can see, these are some of the comments that people made, and Muscleman1122 said, possibly a bit off on that. More like maybe 300 with his long arm, 600 would be impossible. Now, I'll get back to these numbers, but 600 is impossible, or NC Law 2306 said 600 isn't impossible by default just because he has long arms. That being said, with his frame, in particular, that's not a chance. I could see Wilt getting around 450, maybe 450-ish, but 600 is nonsense. Now, why am I showing you this? Well, these are some objections that people make, and I'm going to address them. But before I do, I want to clarify that it's a known fact that Wilt could bench press 465 pounds at the age of 59 with heart disease, which proves these guys completely wrong. Just off bat, like this guy, let me go back. This guy, Muscleman, was completely off by like 300 pounds or 150 pounds. And this guy was off by a little bit of pounds. Not as many, though. Now, what would that rank him? And there's a reason I'm showing you the percentages, and I'll get back to it. But, like I said, if he would have been able to bench press, give me a second, 465 pounds at the age of 59, he would be in the 99 percentile of male lifters for that weight. Now, I don't know how much he weighed at the age of 59, so I just left it alone. But no matter what weight it would have been the 99 percentile range as well. Now, why am I showing you this? Well, let's address some of the objections like the arm length. If you were to do a quick Google search, it says research suggests that arm length isn't a reliable predictor of strength, which is true, even though it does impact, right, your lift on your bench press. It's not the most reliable thing. And down here, it makes it clear that you should use the amount of muscle mass they have in the muscles that do the most of the lifting, right, to try to get a prediction of how strong they would be. Now, why did I show you that? Well, because of the objections. This guy said the arms was the problem. This guy was a lot smarter and said, no, it's his frame that's a problem. But let's talk about Wilt Chamberlain's frame. See, most people have the mistake to believe Wilt Chamberlain looked like this, right? They think that this is what Wilt looked like most of his life, and that's how strong he looked when he was slim. You know, he still looks very strong, but, I mean, he's slim. But they forget that this guy easily bulked up. And, I mean, by the time he was done and by the time he was at his peak of his strength, he was over 300 pounds of pure muscle. I mean, you can look at that man right here when he was in his 50s and still see the size, and he was a big guy, right? He looks slim here because his arms are long. But to tell you the truth, if he were to flex, his bicep was, his body was, he was a big guy. And I'll show you more proof of that in a second, as you guys can see, comparing him to Wilt or to Arnold and Andre the Giant. He was a very big guy. But even better than that, I'm going to show you a picture of him next to Shaq, which I photoshopped, and I was able to get the basketball sizes to match and be the exact same size, which makes the photos pretty much the exact same in terms of scale. Which, if you notice something, Wilt and Shaq are about the same size. Both of them are absolutely massive, but nobody would ever say Shaq's frame lacked. But they do say that about Wilt. And so the point of this is to show you that Wilt was a lot bigger than people realize. Yes, he was skinny when he was in Kansas, right? He looked skinny when he was in Kansas, absolutely. But by the time he got older, he definitely bulked up and added a lot of muscle on his body, right? Even when he was with the Sixers, he was close to 300 pounds at that time, right? So he was a very strong guy and very big. Now, even though I'm addressing those points, I want to point out that even if he was frail or his frame wasn't as big as people, or if he wasn't as big as he actually was, and he was actually skinny his whole life, or that his arms were such a big problem, it doesn't always equal out like that. I'm going to show you a clip, and this is one of the most impressive, lifts I've ever seen in my life. And I was debating a Hakeem fan on my YouTube channel, which is hilarious. But this guy is 154 pounds and can bench press 410. Now check this out. One of the most impressive videos I've ever seen in my entire life. That's legit. You can hear the crowd going, whoa, and they're calling him the freak, which I actually agree with that. This guy's a freak of nature. Right? They even asked him how much he weighs, and he said 153 pounds. Now, why did I show you that? Well, to prove the point that even though, yes, your frame and your arms can affect it, it's not always the case. Some people are genetic freaks. And to prove that, I happen to know this guy was around 30 years old, let's say 29, and he weighed 154 pounds. And he was able to bench press 410. That would put him in the 99.7 percentile of male lifters. So, yeah, I think that guy categorizes as a freak. Now, Wilt, who claimed he could bench press 600 pounds, let's just say that he did this at the age of 35, just because we know that that's probably the heaviest he ever got, besides 1964, where he also was 325. And I could talk about that in a different video. But let's say he was able to bench press 600 pounds. It would put him into the 98 percentile range, which is very funny because that's exactly what he was when he was 59. So he was a genetic freak. And I think that's just the simplest way to describe it, that Wilt was a genetic freak. You know what I mean? So how strong was Wilt Chamberlain? To be honest with you, as strong as he claimed to be, it's probably likely he wasn't lying. Now, could he have exaggerated a little bit? Absolutely. 600 is a round number. It's easier to say than 565 or 575. And it's plausible that Wilt might have been able to bench 575. I think it's actually likely just logically speaking, if he could do 465 at the age of 59 when he was close to death and had heart disease, I think it's pretty safe to assume he could do a lot more when he was young in his prime. Right? That, just leaving that off, like, that could be in a simple way. But I wanted to show you that the numbers added up. Right, his strength categories are in the 99 percentile range, which adds up with the stories that you hear about him. And so, yes, I do believe that it's likely Wilt did bench press 600 pounds. Now, whether he could deadlift 1,000, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did over 800, maybe 850, maybe even 900 pounds. Obviously, every single one of those is pretty insane, to be honest with you. Now, if I had to give you a specific number and conclude and say, this is the number I believe, I would say 575 bench press. That's what I would say. That's probably what he did. Maybe not 600. That's just my opinion. It's up to you to decide. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. I just wanted to make a video just because I think a lot of people look at it and they overcomplicate it. I've seen so many videos of people saying, hey, that guy's not strong enough because his arms are too long. And I thought that was ridiculous, right? I think that's a ridiculous argument. And I've seen people say, oh, he was small or he was skinny or whatever. But if you do any research, you'll find out he was a very big guy, which is that's just the reality of it, right? Now, that's it. I mean, I don't have much to talk about. Wilt is definitely the most athletic human in recorded history. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. God bless you. Jesus loves you. I hope you guys get saved soon enough. And take care. Goodbye.